Hello, everyone, and welcome to Real Chat with Kat, a podcast dedicated to offering a growth mindset platform for us entrepreneurs, where we discuss everything from business, mindset, to life in general. I'm your host, Catherine Polsinelli, a business organizing powerhouse, personal development strategist, and owner of Agent Services Plus, a company focused on helping entrepreneurs just like you build, grow, and be courageous in their business. I'm so excited to have you with us today, so grab a cup of coffee or your favorite beverage and get ready to have some amazing conversations and fantastic takeaways. Let's jump right in. Today I have Tina Kadish, right? If I said that right? Okay.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So excited to have you. So thank you so much for joining me today. And please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, what it is that you do, and let's dive in.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here, Catherine. I am Tina Kadish. I'm a business coach, author, and speaker of From Job to Joy. And I'm very passionate about helping women really stepping into their purpose and finding their joy. And so I work with primarily women that are in transition right now, want to reinvent themselves. They are really stuck. They could be stuck within their careers and they have no direction, no clarity. And I started my business really when I was laid off from the corporate world. I learned that a lot of us are unhappy, unfulfilled with our corporate careers. And I began a journey of that, really helping to figure that out. And I wanted to really turn that around, because if you don't need to be an entrepreneur to find joy. You can have joy within your career, working for someone, working for a company, but are we following our passions? And I'm passionate myself in that, because I really believe that all of us deserve the success, and really following it and not staying stuck and fearful that we can't make a change. And you mentioned mindset. I'm all about mindset. Are we in the fixed mindset? Are we in the growth mindset? Are we looking for a way to better ourselves? So I love being here and I love your messaging.
Thank you. I'm so excited to have you. You are a ball of energy, which I love. And I feel like this is kind of the perfect conversation to have with a lot of people right now, because especially with 2020, we saw like this huge shift in people not working or being laid off, or those that decided to hop into the entrepreneurial world. But at the same time, like you were saying, I don't think a lot of people defined their passion. They just knew that they wanted to do something different. So how would you, if you were having a conversation with someone, kind of help them define where their passion may lie, whether that's in the entrepreneurial world or in the corporate world, so that they feel more fulfilled?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a process. When I first started my business, I have a tool that I'm certified in called the passion test. And it's part of my process, where it's a tool that helps you to identify your top 5 most important things that are
Okay.
important to you. And I really even dig deeper than that, really tapping into finding their why. Like, why do they want to do what they do? Like, what do they desire? What excites them? What are their strengths? What are their values? And so we really create a process, or really create a roadmap, and really get better understanding of what they desire. And because we need to know what really fuels us, what
Yes.
really makes us happy, and making a living out of it. We can make money following our passions, because sometimes I do get people to say, well, I don't really believe that. Well, that's a mindset. That's also a mindset. And a lot of
True.
times our limiting beliefs. So I help them really with their limiting beliefs, and really getting to their mindset, like what is really going on, digging deeper, really, because there's barriers that stop us. Like for me, it was fear. Like, when I got laid off, yes, I was afraid and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no direction. And so sometimes we're in situations, we just don't know what we don't know. And we
Yeah.
need that clarity. We can't do it alone. Also, I started networking, and I started to really, if I hadn't started networking and meeting other people, I wouldn't have known about this tool. That I started my business with that tool. And then over the years, I've evolved and, created more of a process around getting to their why, because it begins there.
Yeah, that's definitely, I absolutely love that. And you said it's called the passion test?
The passion test. It was created by Janet Atwood. I'm not the creator of the tool, so I don't take credit for that, but I am a certified facilitator for the program. And that's really one of the steps that I work with my clients.
Okay. I love that. I even love the name of that, right?
I know, right? And it's not a test. The name is misleading. It's not a test that you got to go through and answer A, B, C, D, No, it is really a process of questions and getting to answering the questions helps them to really create a plan, and that they now know what their top 5 things that are important to them. And they can then from that have really that clarity to move forward.
Yeah.
In the next steps.
That makes a lot of sense. And do you ever notice, like, when people are taking that test and let's say they are kind of defining what it is that brings them joy, do you find that a lot of times when you have that conversation with them to kind of bring it all together, that the limiting beliefs tend to get in the way of that? Or do you feel that people are a little bit more open once they kind of see it?
It depends. And I've had both, because sometimes people say, wow, I didn't realize this about myself. I'm all in, I'm ready. This is what I want to do. Show me how. But then there's those people that, yes, I help them to understand what's the next step, but then they stay stuck in their mindset that it's not possible. They can't do it. Fear, or they may not be ready to. Maybe the timing right now is not good for them. But for me, they need to understand, have that clarity, in other words.
Yeah.
Like, at least have that first step to know what they could be doing, what fuels them, what really drives them. Like, why are they waking up every day? And that's really important. Why? What is the impact you want to make?
I think that's a big thing that a lot of people tend to get confused. And to be honest, I got confused for a while as well. As when you say, what do you wake up for in the morning, or what is it that fuels you? I think a lot of people tend to, and correct me or tell me your opinion, that they get that a little confused, especially if they're parents, right? Because we're like, oh, I get up for my kids. But your kids are not always going to be your main objective, right? They're going to grow up, they're going to have their own lives. And you could say, oh, I live for my grandkids, but you have to find that fuel or that passion that creates the fire for you, regardless of everyone else. Because I feel like we do tend to get stuck in that realm, especially as women, of oh, well, I need to make my husband happy, or I need to make my partner happy, or I've got to focus on my kids because they need to be happy. And so our passion, we tend to confuse, because we tend to see it as this whole magnitude of everyone else, versus having that clear direction for us.
And it's as women, we're always thinking of others, and our kids are very important, yes. But our kids it's part of our life. But if we don't take care of ourselves, if we're not happy, it's that oxygen mask in the airplane. If we don't take care of ourselves first, how can we take care of others? How can we, if we're not happy, let me tell you, if we're not happy, the whole family and everybody will know it. And I've been there, going to a job that you're unhappy with, and you take it home. So when you're not happy with your career, your life, what you're doing, it affects your health, it affects your relationships. For me, it almost affected, getting divorced from my second husband, because I wasn't happy. Okay. And when you're not happy, you take it out.
Yeah.
You come home and you might be yelling a little bit more at your kids too, right? So, and you might be so stressed, and you're not eating well, you're not sleeping well. So it affects your overall well-being if you don't really follow your passion. And it's really tapping into it, knowing what that is, and not waiting. Like, a lot of times what I have found is that we wait until it's the perfect time. It's never going to be the perfect time.
Yeah.
And with the pandemic, we learned that, right? A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people working from home, they learned that, oh my God, I could do this from home.
Hmm.
Companies learned they could still make money, you working from home, and they still made money. And we had happier, productive employees,
Yeah.
morale. They felt good about themselves and they were still productive. They were able to. And so now I think we've seen definitely a shift. More
Hmm.
and more people are looking for remote work from home.
Yeah, definitely. I think it brings a sense of, I hate saying the word balance, but a balance to your life, especially for those that do run a family, right? And whether that's men or women, right? I know there's single
Mhm.
dads out there, and there are people that are nurturers by
Yes.
nature, so they're constantly involved in, even if you're a single person, you're constantly involved in like your family's affairs and your, you know, your friends' affairs or whatever the case may be, because you're constantly wanting to help everyone. So for anyone that's listening, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have kids to have this feeling or to notice that you're putting other people ahead of you, because those that are nurturing, we tend to want to take care of everyone else around us and make them feel good, and then we can't figure out why we don't feel good for helping them.
Right. We don't feel good for helping them because we're not thinking of ourselves first.
Hmm.
And I used to think that thinking of myself first was being selfish. No, it's not selfish. It's self-care.
Yeah.
It's important to care for ourselves. And it's so important. And when my kids were little, I didn't really believe in dreams. And this is something that has evolved for me over the years. And had I not been laid off, see, that's the thing. When I was laid off is when I learned that I don't want to get a job again. I don't
Yeah.
want to be at the mercy of a company. However, entrepreneurship is not for everyone.
Correct.
And I don't believe that everybody should be an entrepreneur, but I do believe that everyone could be doing what they love to do
Hmm.
and making money loving what they do, that the money will come,
Yeah.
that they can have that harmony that they desire and be productive, and that life goes on, life is too short, and then we wonder why we haven't done something, and we get older and we have regrets.
Hmm.
Well, instead of having regrets, it's better to say I've done it and I feel really good about it.
Yeah.
I don't have a regret.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. And I feel that um a lot of us, like you said, we kind of get stuck in that space of that limiting belief where I feel like a lot of our generations were taught that, if you want to get to the top, you have to work really hard. You are not going to be able to do exactly what it is that you want to do because whatever it is that you do doesn't really bring money, right? That those are like huge ones that I see across the board, with a lot of people, that I
Oh,
feel
yes,
is very holds a lot of people back from taking that invisible step, onto
it
that
does.
board plank.
It does. It does. And it doesn't happen overnight. See, I mean, learning what you want to do can happen right away. I mean, my process is a couple of sessions and we can figure out, and then we put together an action plan, how we're going to make that happen.
Hmm.
It's taking action that
Yeah.
a lot of times people won't even take one little action. And a lot of times they make excuses, and you're right. There's always something going on. I hear this all the time. Well, I have a family, I have this, I have that. Life will always be there. There will always be distractions. There will
Yes.
always be. That's life.
Yeah.
And it's never, again, it goes back to it's never going to be perfect.
Hmm.
That now is the right time. It's never going to be the right time, but do it in spite of it. Do it. I always tell people, do it in spite of the fear you may have.
Hmm.
But really identify what is that fear that you have. And let's dig deeper into that fear. Why do you have that fear? The
Yeah.
common thing is loss of income, if you're transitioning into entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
Okay, what does that look like? How can you make that happen? What do you need to do? It's all about getting to a plan. It begins with your mindset. And I'm not simplifying this because it is, a lot of us hold ourselves back. I'm one of them. I held myself back because, when I got laid off, I built my business part-time and I
Hmm.
did go to a job as a recruiter. So I was working while building my business. So I'm not saying to anyone to ever quit their jobs
Yeah.
and start a business. That's not too smart unless it's really affecting your health, that it's detrimental to your health. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it could be a toxic work environment and it's affecting your health because I've seen that as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's different. But however, always have a plan, step by step.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's the big thing about people reaching out to others like you, to have that conversation. I think we get kind of stuck in this rut of, oh, I'll figure it out, or oh, I can go to YouTube. And then you get into like system overload, right? Where if you just sat down with like one person and find someone that you connect with, right? That personality match is a huge thing. And it was a big thing for me when I hired my first coach as well, was I had that conversation and I had to see how I felt being around them, because if I was uncomfortable even in the beginning, I knew that it was going to be harder for me to open up down the road, right? And you're ultimately looking for someone that can get you out of your head a lot quicker than you can get yourself out of your head. It is really hard. I've tried it. It's really hard to try to get yourself out of your own head and talk
Yes.
yourself through it and figure out the other side. But sometimes having someone on that platform with you to say the same thing you were thinking, you're like, oh, well, I get that.
I know. And that's the thing that I want to emphasize for the listeners here, not to do it alone. You
Mm-hmm.
need other people, finding the right coaches, finding the right people to guide you, to support you, to give you those ideas instead of trying to figure it all out and get all the freebies, go online, information overload.
Yeah.
And instead, you need someone to hold you accountable. Like I need accountability. I want to work with people. Yes, I'm self-directed and I get my work done, but you always want to work with someone that is an expert. They can help you move it along faster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then years and years it could take you to
Yeah.
try to figure it out on your own, and you don't even know if you're doing it right when you're doing it on your own
Mm-hmm.
either. So I've worked with multiple coaches. I still work with the coach. Coaches need coaches.
True.
It's very important. And so when, another thing I hear is like, they don't invest in themselves, monetarily. And yet, so how do you expect someone else to invest in you,
Mm-hmm.
especially being an entrepreneur, if you're not even investing in you? So do you value yourself to invest in you?
Yeah.
Is something that holds us back as well.
Yep. That was a big one for me for quite a while. And I thought I was going to lose it when I hired my first one. Um, but it was so worth it. And like a lot of people say, don't spend the time reinventing the wheel. Go out and have conversations with those that have already been through it. And it doesn't necessarily have to be, this world renowned expert that's at the top of their game. All you need is someone that's a few steps ahead of you that can be like, oh, well, I did this when I was going through this. Here's what I would have done differently, right? Like those are the things I think people forget to look for, especially when we're talking about connecting or getting a coach or a mentor. They go looking for the big name coaches. Nothing against them, because they're great, but at the same time, I feel like there's also sometimes a disconnect between both, because they're at such a high level and they're ready to teach at that level, but you may not be ready for that
Exactly.
level.
You're not at that level. Like I see so many coaches, they're going to teach you to get to 6 and 7 figures.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not even at the 20,000.
Yeah.
And working with a coach that has already worked with people that are at that level.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. Find the right coach. I always tell people, find the right coach that serves you, that what you need, and that understands your needs and
Yeah.
helps you to get there to where you're
Yeah.
looking for. But I agree with what you said. A lot of times people just go, oh, yeah, I want to work with that. They've done that. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, not to offend anyone, but sometimes there's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always, so I always recommend working with the one that best you do your due diligence, do references, really
Mm-hmm.
do your homework.
Yeah.
And it's so important.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think it has to do with the perspective from that person as well. And a lot of
Mhm.
us, I think, tend to forget that. And this, whether you're an entrepreneur, you're in the corporate, to be honest, within your own personal life, you have to realize that your perspective is different than someone else's. And so if you're having a conversation with anyone and things aren't matching up, it's probably because those perspectives are at the opposite spectrums. So it's either
Yes.
time to ask more questions or find someone else that better aligns with the direction that you're trying to go instead of forcing that one connection,
Yes.
hoping that it's going to be what you need it
Yes.
to be.
Yes, it has to be aligned, and asking questions. That's the other thing. When you're looking for a coach, ask questions,
Mm-hmm.
find out, some of their successes, who they were, like get references again. But you're right about the perspective. It may be a different perspective. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had coaches and I've had to let them go and find other coaches because they're trying to push you in another direction that doesn't feel right. Because I'm about intuition, like what
Yeah.
feels right and aligning with that
Yeah.
is so important.
Yeah. So now I know that you said you wrote a book too. So I want to bring this up and I want you to give me
Yes.
a little bit of information about this book and what it's about and what's in it and all the things. So I
Okay,
want to make
good.
sure we
Yes.
touch base
So
on
it's
this.
called Freedom: 7 Steps to Thrive in Life and Business. And I wrote this, launched it in 2021, and it's really around the premise of finding freedom. And when I wrote the book, it was really about, okay, what is an important thing that I value? And it
Mm-hmm.
was freedom, because when I got laid off, like I said, I really learned that I wanted to be free. I wanted that flexibility. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm going to take the word freedom and I break it down in 7 steps, each letter of the word, and what does it mean to me. So the F is faith.
Okay.
It's that believing in something. It's not religious. It's really about faith in you,
Mm-hmm.
believing in something. The R is release. It's letting go, not holding on to the outcome, but it's really being able to release it. And when I talk about the passion, I also talk about that. It's the no tension, meaning let it go. You
Mm-hmm.
don't know how it's going to happen, but the passion test provides the what you want to do, but we don't know how, okay, it's going to
Mm-hmm.
be. The first E is evaluation. It's really taking note where your progress is. Evaluate where you are right now, what it
Okay.
took to get you there. So it's really evaluating your systems and your progress where you are. The other E is energy. So I'm all about energy. We have money's energy, everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I go into a lot of detail about that. The D is determination, weathering the ups and downs, the obstacles that you come in your way, determined. Like I was determined that I was going to be an entrepreneur. And even though I was working full time, I was determined to make it happen.
Yeah.
The O is optimism. So connecting with this determination is that throughout the ups and downs, all the obstacles along the way, do you remain
Yeah.
optimistic?
That's a big
That is,
one.
that is, and do you really stay there? And M is
Mm-hmm.
mindset. So I wrap it up with mindset, and I go into detail about the 2 types of mindset and limiting beliefs. And with the book, I don't want it to be just a book. I wrote, there were questions at the end of each
Okay.
chapter, journal questions. And I do have a course from the book, Success Incubator. So it
Okay.
takes the book into a lot more depth, 14 videos, and it goes in depth with the 7 steps, really helping you to overcome those barriers. I call it doing the inner work. So this book, this process is doing that inner work that is so important to help you with your career, help you
Mm-hmm.
with your business. If you're an entrepreneur right now, there could be some areas in your business that are not working.
Yeah.
And this is really one of the first steps in doing that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's been successful that people are really taking these principles and applying them in their life and business. And that's why I called it Life and Business, because business is part of our life, but I wanted to separate it,
Sure.
that I wanted people to know that for entrepreneurs as well.
Yeah. I love that. And I love the fact that you don't have to necessarily be an entrepreneur or
Yeah.
even want to be one. You can still use this as a way to kind of find a better direction in your business life or in your personal life. And if that means being in the corporate world, by all means, it means being in the corporate world. Like you said, not everybody is meant to be on their own and doing and all that. You can still be a leader and enjoy what it is that you do. Obviously not everything is going to be perfect. I think people forget that part, right? Like some people get into doing their passion, and then because it hasn't taken off the ground, they're like, oh, but I mean, I had a good day this day, but like this week has been crap, right? And I think we forget that you could still be in like the best job in the corporate world doing whatever it is that you love, but you're still going to have days that just suck, right? It is what
Yeah,
it is.
exactly. And I was working full time and doing my business part time. And there were days that I was working my business weekends and evenings. There were days that I was like not showing up for my business. And it was a coach that said to me, "You're not really committed to your business." And I said, "Yes, I am." "No, you're not, because you're not doing it every day. You're not consistently showing up."
Yeah.
So are we consistently showing up for ourselves? Or are we allowing the excuses to interfere?
Ooh.
Are we allowing it to interfere with our life? And so it's going back to our why. Our why should be so huge that no matter what obstacles you have, and I talk about that in my book, that when you really know your why and you clearly know it, no matter what you go through, you will always go through it because you always have that vision of where you see yourself going. Because I'm all
Yeah.
about, vision is also in the book as well. I talk about it. It's seeing yourself. So all of you listeners here, are you really visualizing your success?
Definitely.
And what does that mean for you? Like success means something different to everybody.
Yes. And I love that you say that, because I feel like that gets lost in a lot of the coaching spills and mentoring and things like that. That's a huge one that I definitely feel like gets lost, because for some people, right, $60,000 a year makes them happy, right? That's fine. Everybody seems to, or at least people that I've talked with, when you talk about goals and where do you want to be, one, they immediately go financial, right? And two, it's always like, oh, I want to be a millionaire. Well, do you really? Like, do you really, right? I mean, because some people enjoy living a simpler life, right? Now, if you're
Exactly.
someone that loves the lavish things and the name brands of everything, you probably need to make a little bit more so that you can enjoy that, right?
Right.
But for some people, like for me, I'm not a huge name brand person. I like it when I get a deal every once in a while, right? But I do love the ability to be able to splurge when I feel like it. And so that's where I'm comfort in my world.
And that you make a good point. And again, it gets going back to freedom. It's having the freedom that you get to choose, because every day we choose how we live.
Mm-hmm.
It's having that freedom and
Yeah.
having that freedom to do what you want to do. And as a business owner, myself, every day I choose on what I'm going to do. And every day is going to be different.
Yeah.
Even in your corporate world, you choose every day how you're going to react to
Mm-hmm.
situations. It's really about our attitude. It is so important. It
Yes.
really is. It really goes back to our mindset that we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we have such greatness within us, but we just don't value ourselves, and we just don't go out there and share our value.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Definitely agree with that. I feel like that, or we sometimes don't allow the optimism to shine as much as we should, because there's so much in the world that is negative that it's just so easy to get sucked into,
I
instead of
know.
leaving a bad time as a moment, instead of coming home and be like, oh, my day was horrible. Well, what happened? I don't know. The traffic was terrible. I got to work late. I had to take a quick lunch. Okay, well, did you have problems with your work? Well, no. Well, how was the drive home? Oh, it was great. So was it the whole day that was it the
We
whole day that was bad,
exaggerate.
or did we
I
just have
know.
some moments? Like that's a huge thing that I bring up to my kids. I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old, and
Uh-huh.
society like weighs down on this this vision of like, oh, it's so bad.
I
Everything's
know,
so
I
bad,
know,
right?
I
But
know,
when
I
you
know.
really break it down and you start asking those questions, my kids just roll their eyes now if they tell me they have a bad day. Cause I'm like, was it a bad day or was it a bad moment? Like, oh,
Oh,
it was
here we
a
go, mom
moment.
again. I love that though. I love, is it a bad day or a moment? And you make such a very, because my husband will do that to me. Because some days I'm like, oh, this is bad. I'm having a bad day. He said, okay, so what's bad about it? I'm like, all right, that's just one little thing. Okay. So sometimes, even myself, we exaggerate.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because I mean, but if you think about it, even when you protect yourself from that, it's still there
Yes,
everywhere you turn, right? And it could be just be that a family member maybe is just having a really hard time or whatever the case may be, but it's so common that it is so easy for the mind to go right back to it,
it
right back
does.
to it.
It does. It does. It does. Yeah, no, yeah, no, that is so true. Very true. This is a great
So
conversation we're having.
So Tina, tell me, because I love to share this with people, what is a phrase or a saying or something that you constantly find yourself going back to that is kind of like a friendly reminder or a piece of positivity for you?
Well, for me, it's I'm very spiritual, and for me, it's praying and all that. But however, I'm a firm believer in I am statements.
Okay.
So, and I love quotes, and there's always a different quote that I find. But for me, it's saying I am. And every day I say I am blessed or I am powerful. I'm healthy. I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy. I am, I have it's all coming from gratitude
Yeah,
every day. So for me, it's not one phrase. It's really, just the multiple things of I am statements,
I love that.
affirmations,
Yeah.
really saying things like I have things in front of me, like, like I'll give an example. I will say money comes to me so easily and the right clients are coming to me. It's really
Mm-hmm.
being in that moment. And that moment, it's being in that frame of mind, that focus, like, okay, this is what is coming to me. I'm a firm believer in we attract it.
Yes.
What we focus on expands.
Yeah.
Firm believer in that. It's, putting our intentions, every day. So if we're focusing on the bad, we're going to get more bad, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And I know bad stuff happens, things happen,
Yeah.
life challenges. It's how we react to those challenges and still coming back from, even being able to come from a place of gratitude when we are going through the challenges.
Yeah. And that's a very hard one. I know.
Oh, yes. Even myself. I mean,
Yeah.
myself is included. We've all had challenges in life,
Mm-hmm.
and how do we still stay optimistic,
Yeah, for sure.
determined?
I like to always if I can't find the gratitude in it, my thing is what I obviously went through this to learn something, to teach me something that I can take somewhere, right? Or to someone who is going to have the same, like, what am I trying to learn from this? What is this teaching me? There has to be
Exactly.
a lesson behind it. That's a big one for me that I go back to a lot when I just feel completely overwhelmed or like everything is falling apart. Or especially like if I feel like it's a scenario that I dealt with back when I was in my abusive relationship, that's a really hard one for me.
Of course.
I find myself doing that. I'm like, okay, there is a lesson here. What am I supposed to be learning? Or how did I react that's different than I did before? And then I'm like, oh, I didn't yell. Okay, I'm proud of myself. So that was an improvement, right? So, because I do think that sometimes things are thrown our way to see if we do something different. Did you learn the lesson? Did you really
Exactly.
grow from it?
That's
Right.
right.
And so that's a big one for me. And so for anyone out there, if you're dealing with something of that magnitude, sometimes if you can't figure out what it was teaching you, look at how you reacted to it and then look at like, okay, if I would have dealt with that before, what would have happened? Because in that moment, normally you're going to see like, oh, okay, I have grown, like I have gotten better, or I do know how to control things more than I thought, because we get in such that, repetitive cycle, that habitual cycle, that we forget the things that we have improved on. And so that's one that I go back to a lot.
That's
A
a
lot.
good, no, that's really true, because I will ask that, like, okay, this just happened. Like, okay, what's the lesson?
Mm-hmm.
What am I, what is my next step? What's my purpose here? Like, what do I need to do next? What do I like? Okay, why is this happening? Like, start asking questions. I do a lot of journaling, so getting my thoughts down on paper is very important to me. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
practice that I really started to do regularly, more consistently
Okay.
than I ever did. And getting thoughts down, and it's amazing what sometimes things come up. Like, oh,
Yes.
yes, this is how I feel. Why do I feel this right now? And it's so important to really get your thoughts down on paper
Mm-hmm.
and do a brain dump.
Yep.
So important.
Yes, very
It really
important.
is.
That's a huge one I tell to a lot of my clients, especially when I'm dealing with people that are like, oh, I just, I can't sleep. I can never sleep. And I'm like, well, do you feel like you have a lot on your mind? They're like, well, yeah, of course I do. And I'm like, okay, well, have you ever thought about writing those things down? Whether you're writing it, you're typing it. I've even told some people, it's like, I hate writing. I'm like, okay, well, start a voice message and just have a
Yes,
conversation with yourself, right? And speak it into there so that you get it all out, because it's amazing once you let it go, how much easier it is to fall asleep because the brain isn't pinging in 50 different
exactly.
directions.
Yes. Oh, so true. I mean, at night, things all come in and like, okay, how do I get this thought out of my head?
Yeah.
So meditating is good too.
Yeah.
It's something I haven't done consistently, but meditating really helps you to stop what you're doing. Or I love walking in nature and
Mm-hmm.
just stepping away when
Yes.
I'm really feeling overwhelmed. Sometimes that really seems to put me in a different mood, different perspective.
Yes.
Okay, I need to breathe right now, because I get so like, oh, and it affects us, our health. It affects our business, our life.
Yeah. No,
It really
definitely.
does.
Definitely
It really
changing
does.
that environment from time to time. Just taking a step outside your door
Yes,
if you need to.
exactly.
Just breathing different air. Sometimes it feels like things get stuck. I feel like in a room or wherever you're at. And for anybody else out there, be aware of your space as well, because I know, like, for me, if things are cluttered and there are things everywhere, I am so frustrated. I don't even have to do anything. I can start my day out great, but if I walk into a room and I see it, I'm like, oh, and immediately it changes the mood. So know that within your home or within your office or wherever you're at on a day-to-day basis, that your space can affect how
Oh,
you deal with things or how you handle things.
absolutely. Clutter in our space, clutter in our mind. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So true. So true. So true.
Definitely. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much, Tina. I have had a ball
Dude,
talking
this
to
was
you.
great.
So, do me a favor, tell everybody where they can connect with you, where they
Okay.
can follow you, and where can they get the book?
Okay. So my website is www.fromjobtojoy.com. Have access to my books there. Free resources are all available. Connecting with me. If anyone wants to get on a call with me, I offer a 30-minute complimentary call that we can get to know each other more, where you are in your journey. I'm on LinkedIn as well, Tina Kadish, Facebook, Tina Kadish as well. And let's connect. I'm on Instagram, not as often, but mostly on Facebook and LinkedIn. And my website, you can fill out a form, and I have a couple of freebies there and a lot of videos.
Awesome. I
Resources.
love that. And I'll obviously I have all that information in the notes, so direct links so everybody can get to it as well. So Tina, thank you so much for the amazing conversation and all of your wonderful tips and tricks. And for anybody that's interested, please connect with her. She has fantastic energy. I love talking with you, Tina. So
Thank
until
you.
next time, be sure that you guys are taking moments for yourself, take a minute to breathe, and don't forget, always try to do at least one thing for somebody else each day. You'll be amazed at the difference that it makes in your life. So until next time, you guys have a fantastic day, and we will talk to you soon. Hello again, and thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you absolutely loved what you heard, please be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review so we can keep the good stuff rolling. Got something you'd love to hear us discuss? Then be sure to message me on social media and let's work together to spread even more amazing content. And if you haven't yet connected with me on social media, be sure to follow along at Agent Services Plus. I'm so excited to connect with you on the next episode, and until next time, be sure to find things that help you learn, grow, and be inspired.